When you think about rising powers in Asia, three giants usually dominate the global narrative. China, with its aggressive economic and military rise. India, with its massive tech workforce and growing political influence. And Japan, with its global innovation legacy and financial power. But there's another country, less talked about, often underestimated, that is quietly reshaping its role in the region and, increasingly, the world. That country is the Philippines. For decades, the Philippines was mostly known for its vulnerabilities, natural disasters, political instability, and an economy heavily reliant on overseas workers. It was seen as a nation of resilience, yes, but not necessarily of rising power. A place where people left to find opportunity, not where opportunity was born. But that narrative is changing, and fast. Today, the Philippines stands at a remarkable crossroads in its history. Behind the headlines, a quiet transformation is taking place. This archipelago of more than 7,000 islands is quickly becoming one of Asia's most dynamic, strategic, and influential nations. Its geopolitical location at the gateway between the South China Sea and the Pacific makes it a key player in the new Indo-Pacific power balance. Its economy is one of the fastest growing in Southeast Asia, driven by strong domestic consumption, infrastructure investment, and booming tech-enabled services. The Philippines is no longer just a nation weathering the storm. It is one helping to shape the forecast. Strategic geopolitical location. The Philippines sits at one of the most valuable crossroads in the world, right in the heart of Southeast Asia, straddling the South China Sea and the Pacific Ocean. This isn't just a matter of geography, it's a matter of power. Roughly $3.4 trillion worth of global trade passes through the South China Sea annually, and the Philippines is uniquely positioned to monitor and influence these lanes. That makes it a vital chess piece in the broader Indo-Pacific strategy, a fact not lost on the world's largest superpowers. Amid rising U.S.-China tensions, the Philippines has found itself in a strategically significant role. Through the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement, EDCA, the U.S. has expanded its military access to key Philippine bases. These include locations in Luzon, Palawan, and Cagayan, placing U.S. forces within close reach of Taiwan and contested waters. And it's not just the U.S. Japan and Australia are also deepening their defense ties with the Philippines, conducting joint patrols and training exercises. This growing trilateral cooperation is positioning the country as a cornerstone of regional stability. Within ASEAN, the Philippines also plays a diplomatic balancing act, asserting its territorial rights in the West Philippine Sea while fostering regional dialogue. As the Indo-Pacific takes center stage in global politics, the Philippines is emerging not just as a participant, but as a platform for influence. Whether it's through military access, diplomatic positioning, or trade oversight, the Philippines' location is no longer just a point on the map. It's a pivot point for the 21st century. Economic resurgence and growth. Not long ago, the Philippine economy was dismissed as unstable and overly reliant on overseas workers. But in the last decade, the country has begun to shed that label, and fast. Before the pandemic, the Philippines was already among the fastest growing economies in Southeast Asia, with GDP growth rates hitting 6 to 7% annually. While COVID-19 slowed that momentum, the country is now rebounding strongly, driven by pent-up consumer demand, strategic infrastructure investment, and a booming services sector. A growing middle class is fueling a surge in domestic consumption, while urban development projects are transforming skylines from Manila to Cebu. The legacy of the Build infrastructure program continues, with highways, airports, railways, and bridges reshaping connectivity across the archipelago. As companies look to diversify away from overdependence on China, the Philippines is benefiting from a shift in regional manufacturing. With a skilled labor force and improving logistics, it's becoming an attractive hub for electronics, garments, and automotive parts. The country is already a top exporter of semiconductors, electronics, coconut oil, and processed foods. New free trade agreements and investment policies are opening doors for further diversification. The Philippine Economic Zone Authority, PEZA, is aggressively attracting foreign manufacturers and industrial developers. More export processing zones and industrial parks are being built, especially outside Metro Manila, to decongest urban centers and stimulate regional economies. All signs point toward long-term growth, fueled by both internal consumption and external investment. The world is taking notice, and for the first time in decades, the Philippines isn't just catching up. Global BPO and tech outsourcing superpower. If there's one industry that symbolizes the Philippines' rise on the global stage, it's outsourcing. Today, the Philippines is the call center capital of the world, surpassing India in voice-based customer service. The business process outsourcing, BPO, sector now contributes over $30 billion annually to the economy and employs more than 1.5 million Filipinos. But it's not just about answering calls anymore. The country is rapidly moving up the value chain, offering knowledge process outsourcing, KPO, services in areas like finance, legal support, IT, and even AI data training. Filipino professionals now manage technical support for global software firms, banking operations, and even engineering designs for Western architecture firms. Cities like Metro Manila, Cebu, Davao, and Iloilo are home to sprawling IT parks, attracting multinational companies with state-of-the-art infrastructure, reliable internet, and a talent-rich labor force. What sets the Philippines apart is a rare combination: fluency in English, cultural compatibility with the West, and a service-oriented mindset. These make Filipinos ideal partners in global operations. Meanwhile, the gig economy is thriving. From graphic designers to virtual assistants, millions of Filipino freelancers are offering digital services through platforms like Upwork and Fiverr, making the country one of the largest contributors to the global freelance market. With remote work becoming the norm, the Philippines' place in the global digital economy is only growing stronger. What was once seen as a nation exporting its labor is now exporting its digital talent and services to the world. Demographic advantage. One of the Philippines' most powerful assets isn't its land or sea, but its people. With a median age of just 25 years, the Philippines boasts one of the youngest populations in Asia, in a region where many neighbors face aging crises, like Japan, South Korea, and even China. The Philippines stands out with a growing, energetic, and tech-savvy workforce. Each year, over 1 million Filipinos enter the labor force. This influx is fueling not only overseas employment, but a domestic boom in industries like retail, services, technology, and logistics. Youth culture in the Philippines is deeply embedded in social media, digital platforms, and global trends, driving massive demand for e-commerce, content creation, and app-based services. And while remittances from overseas Filipino workers remain a key contributor to the economy, there's a noticeable shift. Increasingly, talented Filipinos are choosing to stay, lured by local startup jobs, outsourcing opportunities, and digital gigs that pay competitively without leaving home. This demographic dividend, if fully tapped, could propel the Philippines towards sustained economic leadership in the region. Digital transformation and startup scene. The digital revolution is sweeping across the Philippines, and it's moving at full speed. By 2030, the country's digital economy is projected to surpass $40 billion, according to Google and Temasek. Driving this transformation is a surge in fintech, e-commerce, digital education, and health tech startups. Apps like Gcash, Maya, and Coins.ph have turned the country into a mobile payments powerhouse, enabling millions to go cashless, even in rural areas. The government is playing catch-up fast, with major pushes in e-governance, internet connectivity, and digital infrastructure. Rural areas once left behind are now being wired in for the digital future. Meanwhile, homegrown startups in edtech, agritech, and logistics are attracting international investors from Japan, Singapore, and the U.S. Philippine innovation is no longer limited to Metro Manila. Startup ecosystems are emerging in Cebu, Davao, and Baguio too. This momentum is not just about business. It's about building the foundation of a modern, future-ready society. And with its digital-savvy youth, the Philippines is racing ahead in the digital era. Military modernization and defense strategy. Security in the Indo-Pacific is more fragile than ever, and the Philippines is responding with strength. The country is undergoing a sweeping military modernization program. Billions are being invested into acquiring fighter jets, Coast Guard vessels, long-range missiles, and submarines. A historic shift for what was once a modest defensive force. Amid growing maritime tensions, the Philippines has expanded naval bases in Palawan and Cagayan Province, strategically located near the South China Sea and Taiwan Strait. The Philippines now conducts regular joint patrols and defense exercises with the U.S., Japan, and Australia, sending a clear signal of regional alignment and deterrence against aggression, especially from China in the West Philippine Sea. This isn't about projecting dominance. It's about ensuring sovereignty, regional stability, and the freedom of navigation through some of the soft power and cultural influence. Power isn't just measured in GDP or military assets. It's also about influence. And Filipino culture is quietly making waves across the globe. From Lea Salonga on Broadway to her, and Olivia Rodrigo on the Billboard charts, Filipino talent is commanding the global stage. The Filipino diaspora, over 12 million strong, spreads not just labor, but also language, food, values, and hospitality from California to the Middle East. The country's hospitality industry, staffing luxury resorts, cruise ships, and global hotel chains, is internationally recognized. And Filipino influencers, vloggers, and filmmakers are building strong followings around the world. This quiet but growing soft power is helping shape how the world sees the Philippines, not just as a source of workers, but of culture, creativity, and leadership, education, healthcare, and human capital. The Philippines isn't just building bridges and highways. It's investing in human capital. With a literacy rate near 98% and global English proficiency rankings, the Philippine education system is producing a workforce ready for global demands. There's a growing emphasis on STEM education, coding boot camps, and tech scholarships. Universities are forming partnerships with foreign institutions to bridge the talent gap in fields like AI, cybersecurity, and engineering. In healthcare, the Philippine nurse is already a global icon, respected and relied upon in hospitals from New York to London. The Philippines is one of the largest exporters of healthcare talent in the world. And now, the tide may be turning. A brain gain is emerging as more skilled professionals return home to start businesses, join tech firms, or mentor the next generation. For an investment magnet, once hampered by restrictive policies, the Philippines is finally opening up to the world. Recent legislative reforms like the Retail Trade Liberalization Act and Public Service Act have relaxed foreign ownership rules, making it easier than ever for international companies to invest and operate. Tech giants like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft are now investing in cloud infrastructure and data centers across the country. Meanwhile, manufacturing powerhouses from Japan, South Korea, and Europe are building new plants, viewing the Philippines as a stable, young, and affordable alternative to China. The Philippine Stock Exchange is also becoming more transparent and competitive, drawing attention from global capital markets. Whether it's real estate, tech, energy, or logistics, the Philippines is no longer on the sidelines of global investment. It's becoming a prime destination. Environmental and renewable energy ambitions. Despite being one of the world's most climate-vulnerable nations, the Philippines is turning adversity into innovation. The government has committed to sourcing 35% of its energy from renewables by 2030 and 50% by 2040 through the National Renewable Energy Program. Already among the world's top geothermal producers, the Philippines is also rapidly scaling up solar, wind, and hydroelectric projects. Innovations in disaster-resilient infrastructure, flood management, and green housing are turning climate adaptation into a global export. In tackling environmental challenges head-on, the Philippines isn't just surviving, it's leading. Regional and global diplomatic play. Diplomacy is where the Philippines is playing one of its most complex and impressive games. Navigating between the U.S.-China tensions, the Philippines has embraced a balanced, strategic foreign policy, asserting maritime rights while deepening ties with both superpowers. Its active role in ASEAN, participation in the Quad Plus dialogues, and support for Indo-Pacific security frameworks have positioned the country as a trusted regional voice. Under successive administrations, the Philippines has hosted major summits, built new embassies across Africa and Latin America, and signed bilateral agreements with countries from the Middle East to the European Union. This quiet, persistent diplomacy is helping the Philippines expand its global footprint without making enemies or losing its autonomy. From a distance, the Philippines might still look like a struggling nation, weathering storms, exporting workers, and fighting for scraps in a competitive region. The Philippines isn't trying to be the next China or India. It's charting its own path with a blend of openness, resilience, and ambition that's uniquely Filipino. This is not a story of overnight change. It's a story of long-haul transformation, a quiet revolution, a nation that was once underestimated, but is now impossible to ignore. So as Asia's political winds shift and new leaders emerge, the question isn't if the Philippines will become a power, but whether the world is